So in this chapter, we're gonna see more advanced topics. We're gonna dig a little deeper into objects. So we're gonna open this learning.js folder again. This is the previous project that we built. Something really simple, just the HTML and also this app.js. We're gonna remove everything from here. And let's open the index.html and we're gonna open live server. So you can see we have live server here. I'm gonna resize this window and make this a little smaller, and I'm gonna open the console. So we're going to review objects again, and we're gonna see some new topics. When you're working with JavaScript, there are two different ways to create an object. First one is called object literals. So we have created all the objects in this course like this. You create a variable, then you give a value, a variable, and then you create the object. Name, for example, I'm going to add my name right here. Then we're going to add, for example, the balance, 1000. And then you can add also methods. So for example, we're going to add membership. It's going to be equals to a function. And we're going to use, for example, let name. And then we're going to check the balance. And if you remember, in order to access this, we need to use a keyword called this. Balance is greater than 1000. Then the name of this membership is going to be called. Else if this dot balance is greater than 500, then the name of the membership is going to be platinum. And finally, in the else, we're going to add the name is going to be normal or standard, something like that. So we're going to add here return name. So this is the way that we have worked so far in this course, using object literals and creating the objects like this. So for example, you can access this, adding console log client, save, and you can see we have the object right here, the balance, the membership, and the name. So if you want to access, for example, the name, you can add a dot name right here. You access the properties of the object by using this dot. You can also print the balance, so dot balance, balance here. You can see we have the name, we have also the balance, and you can also access the methods membership. You need to add the parentheses because this is a function. So you can see we have platinum. So these are object literals, and there is a second method to create objects. The second method is known as the constructor, and this one is more powerful and also will provide a more dynamic behavior. So we're going to remove everything from here, and we're going to call this one object constructor like this. So we're going to add a function, and then you're going to name this similar to a class. So it's going to be using an uppercase. Then you open the parentheses, and then you open the braces. So this is going to be the object constructor. So let's say that this takes two parameters, for example, the name of the client and also the balance. We can pass this using this dot name equals name, and this dot balance equals balance. So this is going to be how you add these properties into the client. So let's add a quick example. We're going to create a const person is going to be equals to new client. So this is going to create a new instance of the client object constructor. So you can see that this takes two parameters, the name and the balance. So I'm gonna add my name, you can add yours. We're gonna add Juan, and we're gonna add 1000 here. I'm gonna send this person to the console so we can see something. You can see that we have client right here from the object constructor. Then we have name, and then we have balance. Here you will have something called the proto, and you can see that it says constructor. And then we have client, and this takes a name and balance. We're gonna see this in greater detail in upcoming videos. So if you remember, I said that this approach is going to give you a more dynamic behavior. This is because you can create another object, person2, which is going to be equals to a new client, but in this case it's going to be different information. So for example, we're going to add Karen, and let's say that she has 600 on the bank. So then we're going to add console.log the person2. So now we have two different objects with the same properties but with different values. So using this approach, you can also add methods. It's going to be like this. This dot membership equals a function. And let's say that we add let name, and we're gonna check for the balance. We're gonna add if this dot balance is greater than 1000, then the name of this client or this membership is going to be gold. Else if this dot balance is greater than 500, then the name is going to be platinum. And finally, all the other clients are going to be normal. So we can save this, and in order to access this membership, we can copy this and paste, and you are going to use a dot again, membership, and add the parentheses. And right here I forgot to return the name. So save this. Now you can see we have platinum right here. So if we create this instance with 2000, you can see we have gold. So there are differences between the object constructor and also the object literal. If you plan to create multiple objects, I recommend that you use the object constructor. If you plan to hard code your objects, you can use the object literal. Just remember that if you want to access the properties in this object, the this keyword is going to be the way to access different properties and also access the different methods. Also here, this part is called the constructor. And you can see we have name, so this property, this name, is going to be added to name. So in this case, for example, Juan is going to be added right here. It's going to be passed right here, and it's going to be added as a property of the client object. So this is an object constructor that we have created. In the next video, let's see other default constructors that you will find in JavaScript. So let's review other constructors in JavaScript. We're gonna see that strings, arrays, numbers, booleans, all of them have a constructor in the language. So for example, in order to create a string, you can add the variable const name1 equals to Karen, and then const name2 equals to new string. So this is going to be the constructor way of creating a string. So you can add Karen right here. We're gonna comment these previous lines, and we're gonna send to the console the name1 and also send to the console name2. So save this, and you can see we have Karen, and this one, the other one says string, but the syntax with the braces is more similar to an object. So you can see in the last video we created this client constructor, and we use the word new client, and then we pass some values. The same goes for the new string. It will create a new string, and then you pass the initial value, which in this case is going to be Karen. In this case, our example is taking 2 parameters. In the case of the string, you can see that this only takes 1, but it's basically the same approach. The difference between these two methods is, for example, if you add type of right here, type of, and you add type of, one is going to be printing a string, and the other one is going to print an object. So for example, if you add if name1 equals with the comparison operator 2, we're going to add console.log yes, else console.log and no, and we're going to save this. You can see it says yes. If we add the strict comparison operator, this is going to be no, because this will check also the data type, and this one is a string. and the other one is an object. So always when you use the keyword new and then something like this is going to be an object. Same approach that we take in the last video. So these are strings. We're gonna remove everything. We're gonna see, for example, the constructor for numbers. Const number 1 is going to be equals to 20, and const number 2 is going to be equals to new number, and we're gonna pass 20. Console.log number 1 and console.log number 2. So save this, and you can see we have the 20 right here, and the other one says number, and it's going to be an object. Same that you can see we added new, which is going to create a new object. We also have for booleans. So we're going to const boolean 1 equals to true, for example. Const boolean 2 equals to new boolean, and let's add false in this case. So we're going to send these values to the console. Boolean like this, and you can see we have true, and the other one is an object with the value false. So the other one is functions. Functions, you can create a function like this. Const function 1 equals to function that takes two parameters, a and b, and returns a plus b. The object-oriented way, or the object way, is going to be const function2 equals to new function, and the code is going to be really weird. You're going to add a, b, and here we're going to add another comma, return a plus b. So definitely I don't recommend to use this. For me, this approach is way better. So we're going to add function 1 and function 2. So save this, and we need to pass something here. We're going to pass 2 plus 3 and 4, 5 plus 5. So you can see here that both functions are working. You can also create objects. So an object normally is going to be like person1 equals to name. And I'm going to add my name here. You can add yours. Person2 equals to new object, and then you pass in the parentheses the object like this. So we're gonna remove this, and we're gonna send to the console the persons. So we have an error. Person is already declared, and you can see here on the top, yes, we have person2. So I'm gonna comment this, and you can see that both are printing the same, because here we're using the object to create an object, and the other one is already an object. So the last example is going to be arrays. You can create an array like this, array 1, square brackets 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can also create array 2 equals to new array, and you can add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without the square brackets. So send these values to the console, and now you can see that we have two different arrays. So you can see that all the data types that we have in JavaScript will have also the object way to create something like this. And the new keyword is going to create a new instance. So hopefully this syntax that we saw in the last video, new client, makes sense at this point. So in the next video, let's see a really important topic that is called the prototypes. So in this video, we're gonna start working with prototypes. We're gonna remove all this code from here through here, and we're gonna maintain this code into this project. So we're gonna see what is an object prototype. So in JavaScript, all the objects will contain a prototype. That's something really important. So we're gonna send to the console.log, and we're gonna add client, which is the name of the object constructor, and we're gonna add prototype. So save this, and you can see that we have a constructor right here. You can click here, and it's going to be client, and you can see that it takes name and also the balance. So this is going to be added right here, name and balance. If you click in one of the other objects that we have, For the client, you can open client, and then here on the proto, you will find this constructor, and it says client and name. This is going to be the same information. So the prototypes are a great tool because instead of making your objects full of methods like this one, so for example, let's say that you add another one, and let's say that we add this get client info, and it's going to be also a function, and then we create another one, this get balance. We're gonna create objects that are really heavy and loaded with a lot of methods. Normally you will add, I'm gonna remove this, only the properties that you will require in the constructor, and then you're gonna add these methods outside of the object as a prototype. So we're gonna take this code and we're gonna keep these properties right here. So we're gonna attach the prototype to the method. So it's going to be something like this. It's going to be the same name as we have in the object constructor. You can see here we added client, and then it's going to be client right here. You add a dot prototype, and then you give a name. We already have this name, which is membership, so we're going to remove this, and we're going to add client dot prototype dot membership. This is going to be the name of the method, and this is going to be equals to a function. Then it's going to be the rest of the code is going to be the same. You will have access to this balance using again this dot balance, but using prototypes you can separate the functions attached to this specific object constructor from the properties that this will require. In this way your code is going to be more organized. And of course, the main advantage of using something like this is that you can create an object and attach specific functions to this object. So let's save this, save, and now you can see that here on the client prototype, now we have membership and the constructor is going to be here. We have client, constructor, but you can see, for example, we have client, we have gold, and we have the other object. So everything is working just fine. We have the two objects and also we're calling the methods. So for example, we can copy this, paste, and change this to person 2. And you can see we have gold and we have platinum. But again, the main advantage of using something like this is that you can create the object constructor with the properties that you require, and you can create the functions outside of the object constructor. So let's add another one. You can see that we have a prototype in the top. We're gonna create a second prototype with the name and the balance of these clients. So again, the name of the object is going to be first, then a dot and the keyword prototype, then a dot and then the name of the method, client info. It's going to be equals to a function. So now we have two different methods. In this case, we can add something like a return, and using template or string literals, we are going to add the name of the client, which is going to be this. Sorry, we need to add the curly braces right here. We need to access these names that we have here. So I'm going to refer to these properties as this dot name. Then we add a comma. We're going to add the balance. So we're going to access this, copying this, and change the balance. Something like this is going to work. And also you can add something like membership like this, and then you can call this other prototype just by adding same example, same code, this dot membership, but you need to add the parentheses. So you can access other properties in the same object, or you can also access other prototype functions in the same object. So right here on the bottom, I'm going to add console.log, and we're going to add person. Now we have this new method, client info. Save this, and I'm gonna comment this other object, Save this, and now you can see we have name. We have the name Juan. We have the balance 2000 because we have the balance right here 2000, and this membership is gold. So let me make this a little bigger, and we're gonna uncomment these lines, and we're gonna also add this new method that we added into the other client. So now we have the other client. You can see it says name is Karen, the balance is 600, and this membership is platinum. So again, using this object constructor, you can create as many objects as you want, and adding prototypes, you can separate these functions from the actual properties, and you can add all the prototypes that you need. So let's add another one, another method to withdraw money from the account. It's withdraw right here. So we're gonna attach this into the client again. Then we're gonna use prototype, and then we're gonna call this function withdraw. This is going to be a function that is going to take an amount, and we're gonna add this balance. Since this is a withdraw, we're gonna subtract some money, which is going to be the amount. You can also create a deposit method like this, and we're gonna add client that prototype that deposit equals to a function. Then we're gonna pass an amount. In this case, it's going to be this balance, and we're gonna increase the current amount. So let's add something like this, and I'm gonna create another one. So you can see now we have 4 prototypes. We're gonna create another one that will check the balance. So it's going to be like this, the client, which is going to be the object, prototype, and the name of the function, which is going to be getBalance equals to a function. This doesn't take any parameters. This will return this balance like this. So save this. You can see we didn't break anything. So we're gonna comment these lines first. So you can see that we have this person, we have a client is Juan, balance 2000, and the membership is gold. So we're gonna call one of these methods, person, and we're gonna add a withdraw, and it's going to be the amount of 1000. Then we're gonna again console.log person, and we're gonna print client info like this. So save this, and you can see here we have a balance of 2000, and it's going to be membership gold. Then we take 1000 from the account, and now the balance is 1000, and the membership is platinum. And we can also use this get balance. Copy this and paste. We're gonna call this get balance. Save this, and you can see this is printing 1000. So let's say that we make a deposit, person that deposit is the name of the function. You can see it's right here, deposit, and this takes an amount. So let's say that we make a deposit of 500, and copy these 2 methods again, save this, and now you can see we have 1000 at this point. Then we make the deposit of 500. You can see now we have the balance in 500. The membership now is gold, and we have this. We have also this balance. So let's uncomment this line. We're gonna add a separator here. Something like this will work. Save this. You can see we have the separation here, and we have Karen, and we're gonna copy one of these methods. Copy this, paste, and just change this to person 2. Person 2, and now you can see, for example, we have Karen. He started with 600, it's platinum, and then she took 1000. You can see it's minus 400, and we're gonna take a withdraw of 100. Now you can see we had 500. Now it's normal. We make a deposit of 500, and now the balance is 1000, and the membership is platinum. So hopefully you see the power of using the Object Constructor. You can create as many objects as you want, and using prototypes, you can attach different functions and leave the constructor only to accept the parameters that this object will require. And here on the prototypes, you add all the functionality. So in the next video, let's continue working with prototypes. Let's see how you can inherit a prototype. So let's continue working with this Object Constructor, and we're gonna see how you can inherit this functionality into a different object. We're gonna remove all this code from here. Save this. And we're gonna create a different object at the bottom. So let's say that we have a client object here, and we want to create a second object called business. And the only thing that is different between this business and this object is that the business will require some extra properties here, but we want to reuse the same methods. So you can create something like this, function. Then you call this, I'm gonna call this business. And then we're gonna open the curly braces. So you can see here on the top we have name and balance. Then we have this name and balance. These are going to be applied when you create a new instance. So for example, Juan is going to be passed right here. Then it's going to be passed into this function, and then it's going to be attached to the property. So let's say for business, we want the name, the balance, a phone number, and also a category. So instead of copying this, for example, copy this and paste, because we have name and balance, in the case where you are inheriting from another object, you can remove this, you can use a function. So the code is going to be like this. We're gonna call the parent, which is going to be a client right here. This is going to be the same name as we have here. And then we're gonna use a dot, and we're gonna use the method call. Then we're gonna refer to this, because this is going to be the client, and we're gonna pass the properties that we want to inherit. In this case, it's going to be name and balance. So we're gonna add comma, name, comma, balance. In the case of the phone and the category, we are not inheriting this, so we're gonna add this, that phone equals phone, and this dot category equals to category. So these are new properties, but these ones, we're gonna inherit these. So basically this code is going to add this same code right here. This and this are going to be the same, but the idea is that you use this code to extend the properties from the client constructor. So next, let's create a business. We're gonna create a new instance. So we're gonna add const business. Business is going to be equals to a new business. In this case, you can see this one takes 4 parameters. So we're gonna pass the name, is going to be, for example, Udemy. Then we're gonna give a good amount of money. They are very rich. Then we're gonna add a phone number, and the category is going to be education. So then we're gonna send this to the console.log business. And let's open this. You can see we have the balance, we have the category, we have the name, and we also have the phone. So you can see that this code that is calling the name and the balance is working, is printing everything just fine. So let's print, for example, this client info. Let's add another line, console.log business, and we're gonna add client info. Save this, and you can see that it says the business client info is not a function. So we need to inherit also the prototypes. And right here, we're gonna add inherit client info. Inherit the prototypes actually. We're gonna add business. That prototype is going to be equals to object that create. And then we're gonna add the client, which is going to be the main class client. the main object, and then we add prototype. Save this, and now you can see that we have name, and it says Udemy, then we have the balance, and then we have the membership. So adding this code, we're going to inherit all these different prototypes into this new business object. So open this, open right here, and then open the proto. You can see that we have object right here, and also we have client right here. So we can add the following code. We're going to return the constructor as business. So we're going to add business. We're going to add a dot, prototype constructor is going to be equals to business. So save this and open this again. And now you can see if I expand this, you can see now we have the constructor as a business. So now this is going to apply this constructor right here. So finally, let's say that you want to create a new method, or you want to override one of these. You can copy, for example, this one, and right here, maybe right here, instead of having client info, you want to add something like business info, and you want to expand this. You can add something like a category, and right here, comma, category. And this is going to refer to this dot category. This is going to be from the new business object. And we also have this font, so we're going to add font equals to $, and open the braces, this dot font. And right here I'm gonna expand this. Here I have a problem. I'm gonna call this, should be like this. We're gonna rename this to business, and we're gonna rename this method over here. So save this, and you can see now we have Udemy, balance, membership, the category, and the font. And we have a new method attached to this object that is going to inherit from this main object. So this one, business info, is going to be a method only available for the business object. If you want to override a method, you can call this with the same name right here also, and you can see that this way we're going to override that method, but you have to add the same name. And there are two ways: or you create a new one, or you can override a previous one. So this is how you create an object that is going to inherit the properties and methods from another object. You can see that I added this object create function. So in the next video, let's see what is this object that create. So in the last video, I used this function object that create. So we're gonna remove the code, and let's see an example using object create. We're gonna create a new variable. We're gonna call this one client, and we're gonna attach some methods. We're gonna add, for example, get balance is going to be a function, and we're gonna return here using template or string literals hello, and we're gonna pass this dot name. This is going to be the syntax that you're gonna use to access the properties in an object that is using object.create. And your balance is, and then we're going to add this dot balance. So right here I'm going to add another method. I'm gonna add a comma right here, and let's add a second one. We're gonna call this one withdraw. This function, this is going to take the money amount, and I'm gonna return this dot balance, and we're gonna subtract from the current balance this amount. So we're gonna create a new object, and give a balance. You can see that we need to create an object with a name and also with a balance. So we're gonna create a variable. We're gonna call this one, for example, Mary. It's going to be equals to object that create, and we're gonna create a new client. So this client must be the name of this variable. So you can see that this is the syntax for object create. We create an object really similar to an object literal, but you are going to give some methods, and you are going to write the methods like this, similar to an object literal. Then you are going to create the new object using this variable. So from here you can attach the properties. You have created the new object. Now we're going to add, for example, Mary. That name is going to be equals to Mary, and then Mary.balance is going to be equals to 1000. Then we can test this and send Mary to the console, and you can see that this is going to create an object. If you want to check this balance, you can add, for example, console.log Mary dot, and then get balance, which is the name of the method. You can see we have hello Mary, and your balance is 1000. So we access this. So let's add, for example, another function. Withdraw some money. We're going to add Mary and a dot, and we're gonna pass this withdraw, and we're gonna add 500. So then we're gonna check again for the balance. Save this, and now you can see that we have hello Mary, your balance is 500, because we take a withdraw of 500 also. You can also create another method, and you can add, for example, a deposit. It's going to be equals to a function. We're gonna pass the amount, and we're gonna return this dot balance, but in this case it's going to increment the amount. It's going to increment the balance based on the amount. So right here we're going to add and deposit some money. We're gonna add Mary that deposit, and we're gonna make a 1200 like this, and then we're gonna print the balance again. Copy and paste, and now you can see 1700 right here. There is another way that you can use object.create. So we're gonna create a new variable. We're gonna call this one, I'm gonna add my name, cons1, and we're gonna add object.create. Object.create, and then we open the parentheses, and we're gonna add client. This client is going to be using this structure that we have here. So we have client, and then we're gonna add a comma, open the curly braces, and here you are going to add the properties. So instead of doing something like this and then attach the properties, we're gonna make something like this. Name, and it's going to be a value. We're gonna add our name, comma, and we're gonna add, for example, the balance. It's going to be also value 1000 like this, and we're gonna console log this variable. So right here I have to remove this, so save this, and now you can see we have name Juan, and we also have the balance. But this method is not very popular in my opinion. If you want to use object.create, I recommend to use this way. And we already saw how you can create object literals, and also how you can use the constructor. So in the next video, let's see in the new version of ECMAScript 6, you will find something called the classes. So in the next video, let's create an example. In ECMAScript 6, you can create classes and methods. So instead of creating this object constructor, you can create a class. And also, instead of adding prototypes, you can add methods. So we're gonna create a new file. We're gonna call this one app es6.js, and we're gonna create a class. So we're gonna create a class. So you're gonna create a class by adding the name class in lowercase. Then you give a name. We're going to take this previous example and we're gonna convert this into classes. So you can see that we have this client. So we're gonna name this client. you need to open the curly braces here. Notice that you don't have to add the parentheses here. And also, when you create a class, you will have access to the constructor. So it's going to be something like this. Constructor, and then you open the parentheses, and then you open the curly braces. So now this is going to be a method inside this class. So this constructor is going to be the same as we have right here. So we're going to pass the name and the balance. And also we're going to pass these properties. So this is going to be the constructor when you have the object constructor, and this is going to be the constructor when you have a class. So both ways are the same. If you remember, we added these prototypes. In this way, these methods are going to be added into the prototype. In this case, you are going to add these prototypes or these methods inside the curly braces of the class. So right here you can see we have this membership. We're going to copy this membership. And then you open the parentheses. And then you open the braces. So then you can copy, for example, this code right here. So this membership and this prototype are doing the same, but you can see that this one looks more cleaner. So let's open again the app. You can see now we have this client info. So we're gonna copy this name. We're gonna copy and paste. Didn't copy the client info. Open the parentheses and open the curly braces, and then you copy this function or the body of the function. Then let's continue copying the rest. We have this withdraw, and we open the parentheses, and let's copy the body. You can see in this case this withdraw method takes this amount, so we're gonna paste this and we're gonna pass the amount right here. It's looking like this. So you can see this will look more organized. So let's copy one more, and we're gonna return this get balance. So copy the name, get balance right here, and open the parentheses and open the curly braces, and then we're gonna return this balance. So we're gonna create a new client. You can see, so this is our class. It has this constructor. So we need to pass name and balance when we create a new client. So we're gonna call this one Mary. It's going to be equals to new client, and we're gonna pass Mary, and the balance is going to be 1000. Then we're gonna send this to the console.log Mary. If you remember, this file is called app ES6, so we need to change this path ES6 right here. So save this, and now you can see we have client, we have name, and we have the balance. So this way, using classes is going to be the same as using the object constructor and using prototypes. All the methods that you have added into the class are going to be part of the proto. So if you open this, you are going to find all the different functions that you can use with this new object. So for example, let's use this client info method. We're gonna add console.log Mary and a dot client info. Open the parentheses and save, and you can see we have name Mary, the balance is 1000, and then we have the membership. So this part of the proto is going to be really important. If you download a library, for example, a JavaScript library, and you want to know which methods are available, in the proto you will find this information. So let's use this and print another one. We're gonna print the membership. Here on the top we have this membership. So we're gonna send the membership, and you can see we have platinum right here. If you wanna test this withdraw, we can add Mary withdraw, and we're gonna take $500. Then we're gonna console.log Mary client info, and you can see now we have a balance of $500. So using classes in ECMAScript 6 is one of the new features. I'm gonna show you something new. I'm gonna show you something is that, for example, if you create a static method, it doesn't require instantiation. So for example, you can see that these are methods and they are functions inside the object. You can call or you can create a static method, adding static, and then the name of the method, welcome, for example, and then return welcome to your bank. Something like this. So you can see now we have this method. If you try to use this, so for example, copy this and paste the welcome method, you can see that we have an error because it says Mary welcome is not a function. And you can see here that the static methods doesn't require instantiation. So in this case, you are going to call this one using the name of the class and then the name of the method. You can see now we have welcome to your bank. So again, these ECMAScript 6 classes are one of the new and nicest features that you will find in the newest version of JavaScript. In the next video, let's see how you can inherit or how you can extend a class. So let's continue working in the next video. So let's see how we can use subclasses in ECMAScript 6. I'm going to remove one of these. So for example, I'm going to remove this method right here. And everything from here is going to be fine. I'm going to remove also this code. You can see that we have this class client. And if you remember, when we were learning this Object Constructor, we built this business and we inherit the constructor and the methods using prototypes. Now we're going to do the same, but using classes. So you can see that we define the class client right here. Here on the bottom, I'm gonna create a new class. I'm gonna call this one, we're gonna business class, and this is going to be class business. And in order to inherit this, we need to use extends, and then the name of the class that we are trying to extend or to inherit into this new business. So doing this extends, we're gonna inherit all the properties and methods into this new class. We can create or add new methods, override the methods, or we can add more properties. So you can see, for example, here we have the constructor, and this is taking the name and the balance. In the previous example, this is taking name, balance, font, and category. So we're gonna create this constructor, and we're gonna open the curly braces, and we're going to pass the name, the balance, the font, and the category for this business. If you remember, if you open the app.js, we use this .cal that is going to use the syntax that we have on the top. It's going to inherit the properties, name, and balance, since we're using this also in the business class. And you can see that we're using a method called call. We're going to use here a method called super, and we need to pass the main properties. So in this case, we need to access name and balance. So we're going to add super name and balance. So using this, we're going to access the parent constructor properties. Since these are the same, name and balance, they are also in the client class. The font and the category, we need to add something like this. This.name equals name. This.balance equals balance. We're going to copy this, and we're going to replace the values in the category. So this is going to be the same as this, as we did in the last example with prototypes and object constructors. So let's open again the app.js, and we're going to create a new business. We're going to instantiate the subclass, and we're going to add subcons business equals a new business, and we're going to pass business name right here, business name. We're going to add some amount, any number is going to be fine, and then we're gonna add a category. This is going to be real estate. So we're gonna add console.log business, save this, and you can see that we created this new object using this subclass that is inheriting everything from the client. If you remember in the example with the prototypes, we need to also inherit the constructor and the prototype and everything. And in this case of the business, you can, for example, you will have access to all the methods from the parent class. So for example, if you want to print this client info, you can add a dot client info, and you don't have to do nothing else, because using these extends, you will have access to the properties and also to all the methods. So we have this client info right here, and this is going to be the same client info as we have here on the main class or the parent class. Let's say that you want to print also the phone number and the category using this same method with this same name. You can override that method. So you have to call this method the same name as we have in the parent class. So we're gonna add client info, and we're gonna return, and I'm gonna copy also the body of the function. We're gonna copy everything, paste right here, and right here after this curly brace, I'm going to add the font, and the font is going to be that font, and also the category, which is going to be this dot category. So save this, and now you can see that client info from the business is going to print the name of the business, the balance, the membership, but also is going to print the font and the category, since we override this client info method. So you can also override these static methods. You can copy this, for example, copy and paste, and now you can see we have welcome to your bank. We can add something like welcome to banking for business. Just remember that in this case, you have to use the business class. So console.log business welcome, and save this. And now you can see we have welcome to banking for business. If you want to print the welcome for the clients, you can copy this and paste right here and add client like this. Now you can see we have welcome to your bank. So you can see that we, in this business class, we override the constructor, we override the client info, and also this welcome. So for example, you can see that we have this get balance. So we can use this also in the business. Console.log business, and then get balance like this. And now you can see we have the balance. So you will only override the methods where you want to change something or you want something different. In the case of the methods like this one, get balance, if you want to use the same functionality, you can let the method as it is. Once you extend this into the other class, this is going to be inherit also. So in the next chapter, we're going to develop a project. First, we're going to use prototypes. Then we're going to use classes. So you will see the difference. But you can see that this is really clear. The syntax when you create a class is more cleaner than using prototypes. But prototypes are still useful, especially since these classes are a new feature of ECMAScript 6. Prototypes, in the other hand, they have more browser support because they have been around for more years than classes. So let's continue working in the next video. In the next chapter, we're going to develop a new project.